I'm going to give you a quick in and out. And first off, and this is very off the cuff, the presentation was built about 20 minutes ago, but we all want the movie, I'm sure everyone here has probably seen it or heard of it. We all want what this future is. We want this small, foldable phone that kind of beats the pants out of the Westworld phones that also fold together. But we want to have this home cognitive recognition person who helps us with our lives, who turns us on to things. And my focus today is going to be about the entertainment side, which is really the lifestyle side. See here. So the topic today is beyond Ex Machina, another big movie of late. What happens when media entertainment gets into AI for production, for programming, and for marketing or engagement, which is really what AI is about, is that deepening of the engagement. And we're going to look at some of the future, or so I think, of where it's going. My background is pretty boring. I've been at the studios for many years. Sony, Lionsgate participant, Endemol, and now Titan, which I'll tell you about. Titan is, I'm literally 5 days into Titan for the U.S. and 5 days in Korea so far with Titan. And the reason we're here on the AI front is that we have created, it's been around for 5 years in Korea so far, a front that is part software, so a video player that is enabling deep copyright protection, which everybody wants from the studio side, but also has a transactional e-commerce model baked into the players. So YouTube, as many know who know technology, have been trying to find a way to buy Jennifer Aniston's sweater or to recommend purchasing and all that stuff. Amazon has been trying to do this, or is doing this, let's say, with Watch and Buy, where they're trying to take you from a content to a commerce perspective. And it really is interesting to look at this world in terms of how much video we watch before we buy something. And I think AI will increase the speed of purchasing. We all have our Amazon Prime addictions, I assume, but it's that level where you start with user reviews, you move to user pictures, which are always terrible, and then you move to the videos that are being paid for and produced by a lot of the production companies in LA and New York. So take an AI spin on top of that, and you get into a space where people are going to be looking very closely to see, what am I buying, and is it more than just the recommended other purchases or videos into that side of, am I getting some questions after I make a purchase, after I consume a video, after I play a game? So Titan is doing some of all of that. The parent company, again, I kind of went through this, but they have a very emotional drive for where they're going. They think there's emotion tied to content, tied to hardware, tied to devices. So smarter content for smarter devices, or its inverse is where we're going to go forward with. And again, I'm just giving you a little backdrop. So stole this from other slides that were built way before my time. But so you have the player on the left, you have the set-top on the right down below the player, and it's got a virtual, or it's got a Bluetooth VR headset to be added on top of it, which is pretty cool. Also for the Korean background that I've since come to appreciate with lots of kimchi and suju, is that they actually have a cloud karaoke system that's onboarded onto this over-the-top device, that's not actual size, by the way, it's much smaller. But think of this as the Apple TV K-pop version, where you can do this, you can do virtual reality, you can do IoT. It's got a number of IoT applications, and it will have AI built into it as we progress. So again, I am like probably 80% of you guys, or maybe 10% of you guys. I am not steeped in AI as deep as many of you. But I've looked at this thing from Bloomberg, and I said, oh, wow, this is impressive. Look at all this enterprise. Look at the health side, the tech side, the investment side. And where's entertainment again? Where's lifestyle again? I see finance. I see some education. But I don't see any entertainment. I think entertainment is always good. And you see this in China and Asia and other parts of the country, because countries that develop quickly on technology need to build cultural communities. They need creative industries. And so if you don't have entertainment, you can't tell the story, which is why so many of these companies, the brands, the logos, maybe some of you have heard of them, but I guarantee you that a lot of these are like, what? That is the terrible name, or it's a ripoff on the Google logo, or whatever it is. So I think we need to ask ourselves, who's going to tell the story of AI to get consumers on board to anything they would purchase or services that they use, or business to government or education? And I think it's an important question to ask, just in terms of the storytelling. Again, not to put entertainment into a small box, but this is the growth for the next 3 years, and it's growing. I think you're seeing a lot coming out of Asia, obviously, a lot coming out of Europe. They don't even, I guess they count North America, South America as one group, but it really is looking in the space of, there's a lot of growth here, and we all know from all these set-top cord cutters, et cetera, we all know people are saying, I need a better interface. I need more for my at-home experience. I don't think AI gets into theaters all that well. I think VR is where their next, IMAX, for example, is into VR stuff in a big way. But at home is where you can get that consumer. So we have Siri with Apple TV, I guess. We have Alexa Dot. We have the Google Home. We have Cortana. There's plenty of others, obviously. And I go back to my sort of tagline, smarter content for smarter devices, and it's inverse. But you're in this space where you're looking at content right now. When you get home, you're going to go home. You probably use your Alexa Fire or your Apple TV 4th edition. I don't think Google Home quite gets you there. Cortana is nowhere near there. And you're sort of asking yourself, okay, this is where I spend, probably with on-demand content, most of my day when I get home, typically. And yet we're still kind of in the dark age here. So how do you get content that really speaks to you? And I'm going to jump into the production, programming, and marketing side. So production, and this is actually an amazing environment for production. I think this is kind of the studio. Just looking around, my first time here at this event venue, this is where entertainment has to be made in the future. It can't be these monolithic sound stages with the corporate headquarters from the 40s where everyone kind of, shows up and tries to outdress everyone else. I think you have to get to a production side where the production teams, the planning, the ultimates, when they do plan a movie, I'm just going to give you a quick walkthrough on how they plan a movie right now, and you'll say, oh my God, that is the most old school way of doing any kind of planning. So what they do is this. For a green light for a movie like Ex Machina, which is the backdrop here, they literally have their production people, the production heads, primarily making these choices, and they walk around pre-meeting, usually the day before, and they go to all the heads of marketing, distribution, sales, casting. They go to the studio head, and merchandising, of course, is a big thing. And they say, hey, I've got this new movie. It's called Ex Machina 2, Electric Boogaloo or whatever. And they say, I really want you to see this movie, and I want you to get excited because if you vote yes for this, if you give it a thumbs up, the green light, I will back your next merchandise, marketing, whatever it is you're trying to sell. And so they get sort of a emotional buy-in to the green light. They then sit down in a big room with a monster conference table, and it's everyone and their neighbor at the front table, and then the back seats are for the lieutenants. And they say, okay, let's walk through this. The CFO is going to kind of make the last decision because he's going to look at the numbers and tell you if it's good or bad. And they act as if it's an original pitch. They've all heard it, but they act as if it's the first time they've seen it. And they say, okay, is this a good movie to support? Or does it have deficiencies? What are the comps? What are the timing, calendar issues? What are the casting availabilities, which is key, of course? How do we make sense of it? Then they go around the room, and they say, basically like an old school Superman movie, yay or nay, guilty, not guilty. And they literally give it a green light. And the CFO, even though they're supposed to maintain some level of, binary decision, they literally are just beholden to the group. And they look over at the studio head and they go, you're the guy, if you like it and you trust your production head, who you hired, we'll go forward with it. I think that entire ecosystem is going to be kicked out for much more AI understanding once they sort of captivate and sort of arrange and market well to their audiences using AI, how they can take all that data and basically put it into the system and say, you know what, we now to a 0.0 whatever degree that this movie will do well with this talent, with this cast, with this marketing. Marketing is going to be the biggest driver. and engage X number of audience members, whether in theater, at home, over the top, whatever it is. So I think you're getting to a space where AI will certainly change things here. And this is an area I know pretty well, but it's an area that they are fighting like mad to not get into. They don't want to get into a sort of a automated green light situation because it really hurts their chances of keeping their jobs. And their creative decisions are thrown out typically. Second piece is engaged programming. Engaged programming to me is like a media clock. It's how much time we spend as consumers or as producers in creating content and then the consumers watching the content. And if I were to ask any one of you here what you had for dinner last Tuesday, you'd probably take a hard guess. And if you had a big engagement or an event in your life, you might be able to call it out. But typically you have no idea. And that meal or that movie you watched last Tuesday or anything like that needs to be thrown back, dropped into this data flow, and then used on an AI basis to find better programming. I'm pressed for time, so I'm going to keep going quickly. The last piece is machine learning, marketing learning, which is basically tied to the media clock metaphor I said earlier of how do we actually tag people, get them to sort of lean in when they're watching programming. And I think the engagement you get off the algorithms right now is pretty good. Netflix will give you that sort of 40 seconds later, they start the next episode of Sherlock or whatever it is. But I think that there's a bigger side to it where once you're done watching, there's a little bit of tutorial, a little bit of give and take, Q&A, whatever you want to call it, between you and the interface, the display, that really allows you to assert what you want to watch more. And it might even pull up at the same time. You watched 16 hours of AI or MMA programming or whatever you like watching. So this new show has just come out. We want to give you a teaser. We want to capture you against this and play it forward. The last thing I'm going to say is, again, very early in what I've been doing. I've been spending a lot of time in Korea, which I recommend because it's got the fastest internet out there. But the sentiment or the sentient beings are where I think consumer AI entertainment needs to go towards. I don't know if anybody recognizes these characters. You've got one person. This is Kakao. They have, jumping ahead, they have monster stores. There is a line of 30 people any hour trying to take a picture with this bear whose name I can't remember. But the stores are 3 stories. They have a cafe. They pull out merchandise all the time. And these characters, of course, on the Kakao messaging app, which is better than most messaging apps, in my opinion, are the way to engage people, are the way to obviously create massive transactions. The digital emoji, let's say, that are created off this and the video emoji they have as well, it's the lion's share of their revenue. It feeds into this IP franchise creation, and it just digs really deep. I think I'm tight for time again. So the last thing I'll say, just again with a little bit of push on the storytelling side, is that we are entering a new lifestyle ecosystem. So that big infographic of all this B2B AI, love it. I think it's going to change how we consume power and transport ourselves and all these cool things. But I think if we can't tell that story on a lifestyle side, which I hope some of you here are looking at, it's going to be hard because the studios are going to push back. The movie studios, the television studios, they're going to push back on this because it hurts their salaries. It hurts them where it hurts, you know. So I think we have to look at this as AI as a lifestyle component and how we can best connect to it. Thank you very much.